What is up, you guys? Marty McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. So, let's just get down to it. Let's just talk about it. The newest offering and the last offering from thrash metal giants Megadeth. Their self-titled album, their last album, supposedly Forever. This is going to be a very divisive record, I think, for most metalheads. People either love it, they hate it, they say it's weak, they say it's sterile, or they think it's a good send-off considering the age group of this band and what they've done over their very long career. Now, let's just break it down, alright? So, we got the Amazon Music edition. I did not get the one online off of the Megadeth website, and I did not get the autographed one. However, I wish I did. Now, there was a couple of distros online that were offering, an autographed 8x10 card or whatever, but off of one of the ones, I think it was Talking Live or something like that, I was a little iffy on that one because I read a lot of things on Reddit saying that people had ordered records off of there that had autographs and they were waiting up to 1 to 2 years and still hadn't heard anything back yet. So I don't know how accurate that is, but I was a little nervous about buying off of one of those websites. So I'll just have to settle with maybe I'll get lucky one day and get an opportunity to either do a VIP meet and greet or maybe find an autograph online. But this is one band I've always wanted to get an autograph of, and maybe one day I'll get lucky. So this is the Amazon exclusive. It comes with this gorgeous lenticular cover. The hype stickers, this one's Amazon. It's not that exciting for the hype sticker, but it's got that. You can basically play like a little bit of DJ scratching on this. But this is the gorgeous lenticular cover. Beautiful gatefold in very Megadeth fashion. And, of course, we got our mascot. And I think they did a really great job with the actual mascot cover using Megadeth. And beautiful gatefold. Here, of course, is the back. Now, let's check out the vinyl, shall we? Of course, we're going to have... This is the black cover. There's a gorgeous orange and gold version that they did on their website, and then Amazon had one similar to that before, but I pre-ordered this one, I think, on the next edition, so I ended up getting the black. It's 180 gram. Can't wait to hear how this actually sounds, because the album itself sounds very clear on Spotify and or CD, so custom center labels, of course. But here's our inner sleeves, of course, with our lyric sheets. Now, there's a little gift in here, which I did not know came with this. So, of course, I talked about our inner sleeve, but we actually have a booklet. And this is pretty exciting. I did not know this was coming with the Amazon edition, but I'm glad I got it. This is basically our mascot in all different versions and colors and a big metal finger. Very classic Megadeth with extra emphasis. And maybe a final goodbye to their mascot as well. I think they actually did a really nice job. This was a nice surprise booklet to actually get with this. And then let's check out our last one. Of course, our custom inner sleeve with our lyric sheets on both sides. And black on black with our 180 gram vinyl. Now, some people might be plus or minus the 180 gram vinyl. Double vinyl is kind of a pain anyway, because you got to flip so many times, and depending on the band, you might only get one song on one side. I can think of several bands where you might, including Dream Theater, when you get the gatefold double disc, that you only get one track and you have to keep flipping. However, 180 gram vinyl, I love the sound quality, so I'm sure this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about the record. Now, I am not your wow, words are hard today. This is what happens when you do videos this late after work. I am not your, I guess you could say I'm an extinguished fan. No, I am not your distinguished Megadeth fan. However, do own a lot of their records, been listening to them since I was a little kid. They've clearly earned their place in the Big Four of thrash. However, this album I think is going to be divisive for a lot of people. It sounds great, the quality's fantastic, but I would say the riffing and the actual pace of the record was very surprising to me, considering their very last record was, I think, a great return to a Megadeth sound. And especially if you think about songs like Night Stalker, I think the last record was actually a fun album, even with the addition of Ice-T, which is a really interesting thing that I was not expecting from Megadeth to play. But they're kind of playing off the card that a lot of bands have been doing, where they're adding Ice-T and some of those bigger names to their songs. But I enjoyed the last record. I thought the pace was great. It was fast. It was heavy. It was angry. It was a Megadeth album through and through. This, I think, is going to go either way with some people. I think there's plenty enough good songs on here that I've enjoyed, but it is a slower album. I would say it's going towards groove metal territory, almost to the pace of where you're like, okay, this is like a lot of like Accept, 80s rock, 80s metal. There's a little bit of like Gojira or Gohira in there. I mean, it's definitely slower chugs, slower tremolo riffs, but excellent guitar work, great guitar solos, and I think the overall writing of the guitar work is great. But I would say the pacing is a little bit slower, it's a little bit chuggier, and the recording quality is very clean. I mean, it sounds like it was recorded inside of a diamond. It sounds fantastic. But I would not say this is going to be their strongest effort or their remotely their best effort. I would say for a last send-off album, considering how old these guys are, considering how much Dave Mustaine has been through to his body, touring all these years and playing, I think for a last final send-off, he did what he needed to do. And I think this is the big final send-off for the band themselves. The opening track, Tipping Point, is very, like, there's not a lot of, they don't pretty it up, they don't fancy it up, there's no musical masturbation to it. It's simple riffs, simple lyrics, and they go right out the gate and just kind of give you an idea of what the rest of the record sounds like. He doesn't do a lot of singing on this album. There's not a lot of like melody with his voice. His voice is very mellow-toned, I would say, throughout the record, and you're going to notice this. With the exception of a couple songs, his voice is very mellow-toned. It's more of like a moderated shouting over the guitar riffs. And I think that's what you're going to come to expect from the rest of the record. I Don't Care, songs like that and Tipping Point got some hilarious lyrics to them, almost to the point where you can't really take them seriously. And even Let There Be Shred has some like goofy freaking lyrics to it, but especially like I Don't Care. I mean, there's some stuff on there and you're like, okay. And I'd say they're almost to the point where they're kind of joking, but it doesn't detract too much from the rest of the album. I think this is just where the band is at. They wanted a last final send-off, and he gave what effort he could give and push into this last album. Now, notable tracks, it's kind of hard because it depends on what you want from this record. But I would say notable tracks that I enjoyed, mostly because they felt more serious. They felt like they put a little bit more effort into them and a little bit more Megadeth into them. I really enjoyed what they did with Puppet Parade because that felt like a through and through Megadeth song. Like I said, the riffs and the chugging are a little bit slower, but the guitar work and like the actual solos are well written. So I think that part they really came out and really showed like, hey, we're still Megadeth, we can still do this. So Puppet Parade felt like a Megadeth song, almost like early first couple of records. It's got a little bit of a prog feel to it, a lot of minor chords, a lot of blues chords, and you can kind of feel that. Another Bad Day is great. I really enjoyed it. I felt like that was the first song after, like, I mean, actually, even going into Let There Be Shred, the guitar work of Let There Be Shred was just like, thank God, like, kind of like a little bit of a salvationary song for this record. Now, like I said, the lyrics are goofy as hell, but at least with Let There Be Shred, you get what you want out of the album, right? Puppet Parade, like I said, a little bit more proggy. Another Bad Day feels like a great Megadeth track, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. But then we go on to side C and D, and I would say my favorite song that's kind of going towards the end of the album, I did like Made to Kill and Obey the Call, but I really liked I Am War. And the reason I liked it is because it felt different from the rest of the album. It didn't feel like a filler track. It actually felt like a distinct song from the rest of the record. I really liked the opening guitar lick and the hooks that they used. It really kind of harkened back to like an 80s metal sound. I'm not talking about glam or hair metal or anything. No, I mean, it made me feel like I was listening to Fate's Warning. And I would say that because there's several moments and songs on this record that made me feel like I was listening to Fate's Warning. And that was enough to pull me in and make me happy about it. So I Am War, there's some very clear moments where I thought I was listening to a Fate's Warning or even a Queensryche album. The Last Note might shock some people. Now, that is the final track if we're not talking about bonus tracks, but that is the final track off of this album. And I think maybe I was expecting more. For the final track off the final album, I was expecting this big, bombastic, maybe like having a big chorus at the end with a lot of emphasis on guitar notes and a build-up. There really is not a lot of it, and I think his voice kind of tapers off into this song very abruptly and very quickly, and it finishes off with like this kind of like speechy type of album with low end acoustics. It was not what I would expect for the final track for the final album for this band, and maybe that's not totally unprecedented considering Megadeth's history and what Dave Mustaine does when he plays. But I was expecting a big bombastic build-up ending to say like here, and maybe like a big cathartic ending that really just blows everyone away. It's really not about that. It actually kind of dies off on a quieter, like a little bit more of a calmer ending than I was expecting. And like I said, Dave Mustaine kind of keeps this monotonous kind of, but mellow tone and very smooth aspect through most of the record. He doesn't get super aggressive with his vocals. There's not a lot of screaming. There's none really at that. His vocals are not very gruff. I would say he sounds like, you know, a very veteran thrash metal singer who's saying like, this is my final ending. And, you know, like I said, if you're expecting the big bombastic ending to the album, you're not really going to get it. But I would say it kind of tapers off. And, you know, one of the highlights of this record, of course, is going to be Ride the Lightning with Dave Mustaine actually playing this. It's probably one of the best tracks off of this album. And I mean, go back either way you want to say, whether Metallica or Megadeth. But doing their Ride the Lightning was actually a blast to listen to through and through. Now, there are 2 other bonus tracks, and those are fantastic. If you play them on YouTube, or if you get the CD at like Target, or you go on their website and you do the digital download, I actually really like the 2 bonus tracks. I listened to them both, and I think they deserve to be on the vinyl, because I think they would have sounded fantastic. I'm kind of bummed, because I thought those songs had more energy than some of the main songs. So that's another thing that like some bands will do over time, is like bonus tracks in different countries or different stores. And it usually depends on like the record label and who the contract is with. Japan labels big time do that, where there will be Japanese only singles. Like Miss May I's done that. Bullet for My Valentine's done that. Seven Dust has done it. There's been a lot of bands that had Japanese only tracks, and that just happens because of record distributions and stuff. But the 2 bonus tracks are fantastic, and I think they add so much more to the record, and I wish they were on this. So, overall, Megadeth's final send-off, their final goodbye to their fans. You know, the band is getting older, but they have some younger guys that are in the band now that really contributed well on this record. It's fun. I'm glad I got it. I don't regret buying it, and it's going to take a little bit more time for me to like really delve into it and hear some moments that I'm like, oh, I didn't hear that before, and that's the beauty of listening to music at home. So, can't wait to see what else I can pick up off this record. Overall, I had a good time with it. It's a little bit on the pricier side for the 180 gram. I think they even on Amazon it was like almost $40, and then Target, I forget what their prices are, but check out the bonus tracks, especially if you're a little hesitant. But I had fun with it. You know, God bless Megadeth. Thank you for the many years, the memories, and the tunes. And I think it was pretty cool that they ended their 10th and final record with a self-titled with our mascot on the front. So that's it for me, guys. That's a pretty quick review off the new Megadeth album. I hope you guys are enjoying it, or at least playing it. And, you know, as always, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out the page. It helps me get out to new people, and helps me meet new people who can also teach me about the bands that they're listening to. So I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are taking care of each other. And peace.